Why am I so drawn to the idea of being a space trucker in Star Citizen? There is without question an allure to the trucker lifestyle that I can't quite put my finger on. It involves traveling and seeing new places, responsibility for operating heavy machinery, driving skill, and route efficiency that all have to be accounted for, and it can become quite engaging. I mean, look at games like Euro Truck Simulator 2 on Steam charts. This game is in the top 30 list of most played games on Steam right now, and it just seems to be growing in popularity. Now take that semi-truck gameplay loop, put it in space, and you could have an incredible experience. And today, I'm excited to explore the current iteration of space trucking in Star Citizen and see how it stacks up. But first, I have a quick word from today's sponsor. Paragon the Overprime is here. This is a third-person free-to-play MOBA with lanes, bases, a myriad of wild characters, crazy graphics, and a super interesting development history. I played the original Paragon back in 2016, which was developed by Epic Games on the Unreal Engine. And when they ultimately decided to discontinue the project, they released the game's assets for free, and from there, indie developers took over and combined efforts to develop what is now Paragon the Overprime. And this game is improved in pretty much every regard compared to the first iteration. One of the main improvements that I noticed right away is pacing. Moving around now is much faster, allowing for more dynamic and reactive gameplay. There's also 28 different characters available. The lanes are each broken up into specific strategic benefits so that there's a best spot for each class, and the graphics are clean and extremely well optimized. There's also plans to get this game on a console, which seems like an absolute slam dunk. And for now, you can download Paragon the Overprime for free on the Epic Games Store and Steam. There's a ton to sink your teeth into with this game, so go check it out now. There's a link in the video description. Alright, so first things first, getting started in space trucking, we're gonna need a spaceship. And while there's many ships in Star Citizen that can serve the function of a cargo hauler, there's only one that I'm even considering today, and that's the MISC Hull A. The Hull series of ships are built from the ground up to haul cargo. They start with the Hull A, the smallest ship, and get progressively bigger until they top out with the capital class hauler, the Hull E series. Think the progression from semi-truck that just keeps getting bigger until you end up with a giant container ship. Currently, the Hull A is the only released variant from this series, with the Hull C potentially coming later this year. So let's check out the Hull A, the closest thing that we can get to a big rig experience in Star Citizen. Now, I like being able to log off on this ship because waking up in it is always kind of a cool experience. You can basically log off wherever you are in the verse, which is sort of an ideal feature for any sort of trucking lifestyle. And you can see this actually has a pretty nice cabin. Still waiting on those real-time reflections to get updated to the game, but we've got our own bathroom, a fold-out toilet that's built into the shower. Even the little TP dispenser comes out of the wall, which is nice. Don't get your toilet paper wet while you're taking a shower. A lot of the design elements for spaceships is about maximizing your space, but the Hull A manages to do it in a way where it doesn't necessarily feel cheap, even though some of the interior does look a little worn in areas. Now, I actually placed a bunch of these items here on the counter. We've got a backup assault rifle if needed, a Banu knife, and a Year of the Rooster envelope, which I managed to pick up from the Red Festival. I also put some drinks in the fridge in case I get thirsty, since hydration is a thing in Star Citizen. In fact, I'm gonna put one of these on my person just in case I need to take a drink somewhere. Moving up to the midsection of the ship here, we've got the airlock on the left, a suit locker on the right, little Pico guy hanging out down there. And we open the door, and we have a beautiful view of Microtech, because I logged out here just looking at the planet, which is kind of nice. I love being able to log back into a gorgeous vista. Okay, so how do we make money hauling goods in Star Citizen? Sadly, the hauling missions are not in the game yet. A very good chance that they will be coming this year with the Hull C though. However, in the meantime, players can basically become trader haulers. Buy goods at low prices at one outpost or landing zone, haul them to another outpost, and sell them for more. If done right, you'll be hauling cargo and making a profit. Now, to do this efficiently, you'll need to use a web tool, as there's really no good UI in the game right now to monitor trade prices and set up trade runs. I recommend using the SC Trade Tools website. It's pretty easy to use. It can give you trading suggestions, and you can narrow down the parameters, like giving it your location, what kind of ship you're flying, how much money you have to buy goods with, and it'll usually come up with the most efficient routes for you. And right now, SC Trade Tools is suggesting some illegal cargo trades. There's an outpost on Microtech selling some of these vices, and there's a buyer for them on Euterpe, which is actually one of the moons of Microtech. So it should be a relatively easy run, provided that security doesn't try and scan my cargo. So we need to jump to the Necropolis on Microtech, initiate the jump, and we'll travel around the planet. Now, I'm not sure if these little mini orbital quantum boosts are going away. Basically, before the end of the year, we're getting a new sort of quantum boost mechanic that'll give you a bit more manual control over your quantum state. I'm not sure if that means that you'll be able to orbit around a planet using this boost, but that would be cool. The more manual control that you can give the pilots in this game, I think the better. Now, luckily, we're not going on to the dark side of the planet. I think this game looks the best when there's some sunlight out, so hopefully we can land while there's still some light out. Now, if you've been looking at the whole A and thinking, how is this a cargo ship? Well, that's the really cool thing about the whole series. They're transforming ships, so when they're not carrying cargo, they're tiny. But when they need to carry cargo, they can extend like this, and these cargo racks fold out, and basically they carry the cargo on the exterior of the ship. This allows for very fast loading and unloading of cargo, which is going to become a much more important mechanic throughout the year as the cargo system evolves. We're even seeing the benefits of this in the 3.18 patch, as players are able to quickly snap cargo onto the exterior grid. Now, the whole A is not the fastest ship for in-atmospheric flight, especially once you get that cargo on there. It doesn't look particularly aerodynamic, and most of the whole series is actually not even designed to go into atmosphere. So I'm curious to see how the whole A is going to stack up in the long run compared to other cargo ships when it comes to planet-side landings. And speaking of, landing at these outposts is a bit janky for the most part. Aside from wind blowing ships around frequently, some of these outposts just have uneven terrain and no landing spots. The game really is in desperate need of some landing sequences and tools to land, especially from the cockpit view. I wouldn't mind the constrained pilot seat view of the whole series if I had the tools to actually make setting the ship down easier, but right now you really have to use that external cam. And you can see here the whole A is kind of a long, narrow ship, not the best for landing on uneven terrain, and it definitely lands awkwardly in those situations. And I'm wondering if the design language of the ship is generally suggesting that this one isn't really intended as much for planet-side landings. It's hard to know. This airlock here seems like it's more intended to lock onto docking clamps and collars versus putting out the ladder, which is a little less efficient for getting out. Because if you're always going to have to leave your ship and get to a terminal, a cargo hauling ship is going to want to optimize the process of getting in and out of your ship. One of the benefits, though, is that it closes behind you every time, so you don't have to do that manually, preventing people from sneaking aboard your ship when you're unaware. So here we are at this janky little Necropolis outpost, which is supposedly peddling some illegal goods. Alright, so here's the trading console. We got the whole A selected on the left. We're on the buy menu. So we can get some ETAM. We'll max that out. Okay, that's not very many. It's only 7 SCU, but it's quite expensive for that much. So this ship should be able to carry that no problem. And then we can also get some Widow here. These are actually both pretty darn pricey, so hopefully we're making a decent profit. And that shouldn't have taken out very much space on the whole A, so maybe we can just fill it up with waste just to see the actual cool effect of what the whole A looks like when it's maxed out. So here's the whole A. It's got 3 different types of cargo on the left side of it here, which is kind of cool. The yellow is the waste up there. I don't think it's actually worth anything. And then the actual valuable stuff are the silver and the kind of black cargo containers. And then coming around the other side of the ship, we've got basically just a full side of waste cargo. I'm definitely curious to see if the different cargoes end up weighing stuff eventually. I believe that's in the plan. And then if you'll have to balance the cargo evenly on your ship, otherwise it'll like start pulling one direction or another. Also, just factoring in weight to flight performance, I think could really enhance the cargo running experience. If you got a full load of cargo and you're coming in to land or trying to take off and your thrusters are barely cutting it, it could be an interesting gameplay mechanic where you're trying to min-max your cargo runs, but it's also increasing your danger at the same time. And it's always nice catching the sun over the horizon here. Microtech still, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful planets, and it has kind of the biggest variety of biomes at the moment. Hopefully some of the other planets get some similar treatments to them. Now, we're trying to get out of atmosphere here so that we can quantum jump to Euterpe. I think it's around 11,000 meters before we can engage quantum, so basically we just got to get out of the air. The sky's going to start turning dark, and then we'll be able to actually jump to the moon. Here I'm going to jump to orbital marker 1, OM1. That'll just get us up in space so we're not being pulled back down by the planet's gravity. And then we can align ourselves to the moon and take a nice last look at Microtech here. Looks fantastic. I mean, God, the procedural planet tech in this game is unparalleled, without question. All right, it'll be easier just to map out our route here so I don't have to look around for the moon. There's Euterpe. Go ahead and set the route, and now it should ping a little arrow up there. There we go. There's Euterpe. The circle with the smaller circle intersecting it means it is a moon of a planet, or a planet will just be a circle. Now, quantum traveling from one planetary body to another is a different effect than traveling around a planet. It is cool looking, but I do believe they're also redesigning a bunch of aspects to the standard quantum travel effects this year, and I'm hoping maybe adding some fun gameplay elements to it as well, so it's a little more active versus passive. And again, when going from, say, a planet to a moon, I'll probably be using Quantum Boost. I think it'll actually be faster. Now, according to SC Trade Tools, I should be jumping to Devlin Scrap and Salvage. These no-good people are looking for some illegal substances. I don't actually really know what I'm selling to them, but it's bad stuff, man. Now, Euterpe is another frozen moon. I think this is the one with the frozen oceans on it. Could be Calliope, but I think it's Euterpe. Not a particularly hospitable planet, and we're on the dark side now too, so you can't even see any of the snowy peaks or black rock or anything like that. In fact, I'm going to turn on my landing lights here so we can hopefully see something on the way down. And this is actually a cooler salvage yard. Looks like the wind is actually blowing pretty hard here. It feels like it's pushing my ship around right now. I think it is, so this will be an interesting landing. Hopefully it doesn't blow the ship over or blow it away. And again, not having a landing pad here is not ideal for the whole A. It's not really your off-road type vehicle. And hopefully this is close enough to the trade terminal so I can actually sell my wares. Come, see the beautiful universe of Star Citizen, a junkyard at night. I think the terminal's in this like weird, dark, disheveled building. This place definitely needs a bit of an update. It's so weird selling and buying things without any sort of like human interaction or interface. All right, we parked the whole A close enough. Let's go ahead and sell. It's nice enough for these guys to be willing to buy both the ETAM and Black Widow. I mean, I'm not going to ask what they're going to do with it, but you know what? You want to make a quick buck in Star Citizen, sometimes you just got to sell drugs or, again, whatever this stuff is. All right, so I added it up. We spent 140 grand on the illegal cargo. Then we sold it here for 171 grand, so we made a profit of about 31,000 minus the cost of fuel and I guess hydration. Although I did steal a ton of water from the previous outpost, so Anyway, that's a good example of what you can make doing this. However, it is worth noting that with the 3.18 patch of persistent entity streaming, there's going to be a lot more people interested in killing you when you're carrying expensive cargo. Like if somebody blew me up in the next patch when my cargo persists or kills me and takes my ship, they're going to get that 140 grand pure profit right there. So trading is going to become far more risky, which basically makes the need for those cargo hauling missions even more necessary, since cargo hauling missions will be less risk or less financial risk on your part. Not to mention this is illegal cargo in the first place, so I'm also running the risk of getting scanned by the authorities and then having to get a crime stat and deal with that whole process. So the profit here is not really worth the giant risk that you're taking at the moment, but if you want to be a space trekker and Star Citizen and sort of lead that hauling lifestyle, this is sort of what you got to do at the moment. Now, I did notice that my quantum travel speeds are pretty slow, and the whole A is running, I believe that's my quantum drive right there, just a standard stock quantum drive. It's like an industrial grade C, so not particularly great. Great range, but just poor speed. So I'm actually going to upgrade that quantum drive, which is an important part of progression in any game, but especially if you compare it to like even like a Euro Truck game, you're constantly getting upgrades and new vehicles and stuff that improves your hauling capabilities. I think what the game has right now is like a fun foundation, but there's so much further for them to take hauling and shipping. You have things like cargo weight, further experimentation with the legality of different types of cargo and the punishments behind it, more volatile cargo opportunities where exceeding certain G-forces might trigger cargo to explode, or travel time, distance, difficulty, interdiction threats, more common fuel management, could all be integrated to this profession in much more interesting ways that really increases the skill and knowledge ceiling, allowing a more experienced shipper to take on more challenging missions where somebody just getting into it might not be able to, and not just because they don't have a ship that's equipped for it, but that because they don't have the experience. Personally, I really like the idea of them integrating fuel management to be a bigger part of the gameplay, where, say, pilots are really rewarded for flying in decoupled mode, which is a much more challenging way to fly, but I also find it much more realistic and enjoyable. It looks much more realistic when you're coming into a land with it. So if decoupled, like used, say, half the fuel of coupled flying or something like that, it could be a great way to like min-max your profits and reward pilots for flying decoupled. So I hope they start integrating that a bit more. Some of the bigger question marks about the future of shipping are going to involve the loading and unloading aspects of hauling, because that's going to be a big portion of each mission. NPCs allegedly are going to be able to do a lot of that unloading for you. You can do it manually. Maybe there'll be a hybrid system where you can unload and NPCs unload, so you can help cut the cost of the labor or something like that. I'm also curious to see how the larger ships like the Whole Sea, which are not designed to enter the atmosphere with a full load of cargo, how those missions are going to run. It's all going to be space hauling, which sounds kind of cool, but are they going to actually have to like dock their ship on the outside of a station, and then what's the unload process going to look like? It could be really neat if like a bunch of tractor beams on the station start sucking the cargo off of your ship and taking it into the station's cargo hold. Very curious about how this is going to evolve. I think we're going to see a lot more of it this year in terms of the progression. Persistent hangars are going to be an interesting thing, where you'll have these hangars that persist in the universe and you'll be able to store cargo there. So maybe traders will be able to hoard up a bunch of supplies and then take it all in one big run when they're willing to hire some security escort, so it's less of a risk for them. There's all kinds of neat opportunities that I think are going to arise in the future. At the moment, hauling is fun for sightseeing and potentially just like the idea of role-playing a space trucker, but there just isn't enough depth for it right now to engage me in a much more long-term way. I'm really excited about the future of it, and I want to spend a lot of time shipping and hauling because I've enjoyed it in other games when it's done well. So I'm just excited for it to get there in Star Citizen and be a more rewarding and enjoyable gameplay loop. And it certainly has the opportunity to go way above and beyond what games like Euro Truck Simulator can offer the players, because of the massive multiplayer persistent universe that this hauling takes place in. There's just so much opportunity for emergent gameplay within this profession. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this look at hauling and trading in Star Citizen right now and sort of the musings about the future, because that seems to be mostly what it is we've got the foundation of it, and now we're just waiting on all the nuance, all the detail, and more stuff to be added. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if space trucking sounds like an appealing profession to you. And if not, maybe you'll be an escort pilot defending a shipping lane, or shippers as they haul very valuable cargo through dangerous space. There's all kinds of interesting opportunities it could open up. As always, guys, thanks for watching. And if you want to watch something else Star Citizen related, check out this awesome multi-crew gameplay showing off the new salvage mechanics with a crew of 4 people operating a reclaimer. I'll see you guys next time. This is Level Cap signing off.